The road to the 15th Collegiate Rugby Championship is down to the final stretch. The teams are locked in and the brackets are set, and we're going to show them to you here in just a minute. Welcome to Selection Saturday. Welcome to the College Rugby Show. I'm Pat Clifton, and I'm joined, as always, by my cunning co-hosts, Darian Lovelace and Zach Lanning. Darian, as a two-time CRC champion and MVP, welcome home. How does it feel to be back on your old stomping grounds, the Collegiate Rugby Championship?
I mean, it feels like home. It feels like you're coming home to the family. I can't wait to see all of my cousins, friends, and make new ones along the way. It feels like a full circle moment, right? Being able now to be the old one who gets to talk some smack about these young bucks coming out, but the competition and the level that has just increased. I don't even know if I would be in the final compared to what these ladies are producing. So it means everything to me. I'm so excited to be here.
Did you major in false modesty down there at Life University? Because I'm pretty sure you'd still do just fine in today's CRC. Well, you've done it just about all in the CRC kitchen there. You've played, you've broadcast, and now we're doing a live show, the College Rugby Show.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe in like a couple years' time, I'll be coaching. There's a lot of Life University coaches that are actually in this mix, so maybe I'll throw myself in there. But being able to just talk, which is something that I was very well known for throughout my collegiate career, it seems very fitting. I feel like I found my little niche now.
Absolutely. Well, let's welcome in Zach here. Zach Lanning, the man, the myth, the legend, our Division III commissioner. He knows a lot about that bracket, but you know about all of them. And we've got a lot of people coming to Maryland, 144 teams, about 3,000 rugby players and coaches playing across 8 divisions, men and women, all in the quest of a national championship. Every single match live streamed, every pitch pristine with proper uprights and the best atmosphere in all of college rugby. Zach, does it get any better than this, the CRC, baby?
Pat, I can definitively say it does not get any better than this. Last year was my first event with NCR, the CRCs. Everybody tried to prepare me for it, but it was still overwhelming, the amount of rugby that's taking place. And like you said, everything is top quality. From the pitches are so well kept. You're having rugby at all these different places. The atmosphere is unparalleled. It's the biggest and best collegiate rugby event in the country, Pat. I can't wait for this year's go round.
Zach, bucket hat and suntan lotion. We can't have a repeat of your rookie performance there in Maryland. All right. There's a lot of vitamin D coming your way here very soon. Well, guys, we have a lot of brackets to reveal, 144 teams to name and talk about. So we're going to get right to it right after this commercial break. Welcome back to Selection Saturday, guys. We are here to reveal brackets, so let's get straight into doing just that. I'm bringing in here Zach Lanning, starting with men's Division III, 16 teams across the board. Zach, dive us through it.
You got it, Pat. Yeah, this is my bread and butter here. I am super excited. I think we have 16, the best Division III teams competing here this weekend. You can take a look at all of those round one matchups. Each one of those, I think, is going to be super competitive. The key matchups here for me, though, Pat, you got to take a look at the ones that involve teams from the Northeast. I am curious this season if the teams from the Northeast are going to be able to stack up against the Midwest and the South, who played a lot of sevens rugby this season, a lot of strong teams coming out of there. Not to mention the champion from last season, that is Slippery Rock Rugby, who came in as an at-large bid last year, a 5 seed, and won it all. They are number 1 seed this year with a target on their back. Can they hold off the field here? And will Endicott, Nichols, and Providence hold up against their round 1 matchups? That's a number 2 seed in Duke playing Endicott. Number 3, Cal Poly, who I think are going to be very strong coming out of the West, playing Nichols. And a 6 seed in John Carroll from the ARU taking on Providence. Look for that upset in the first round, Pat. So I'm looking at those teams from the Northeast, see if they can hold their own here.
Yeah, I love that. They're going to have a tall task against some of the other teams from other parts of the country. I'm looking at Duke, led by River Hansen, former Duke football player. He played some middle school rugby at Atlanta Youth Rugby, put it away to play football, which he did at Duke, and now playing Blue Devils rugby, and he's been lighting up the pitches ever since. And Wisconsin Eau Claire, they are my favorite to win this thing. They are stacked with talent. The Twin Towers and Luke Pugh, who's now social media viral at this point, and Andrew Boucher. A lot of size. They got pace. They got skill. The Blue Goals are my favorite to win this thing. They won 4 tournaments this spring, 26-2 overall record. It's going to be tough to knock them out. They look really good. And then, my dark horse here is Denver, coached by Cody Melfi, an Eagle. And they got Anthony Rice, a lot of pace out there on the wing as well.
I say that about the Northeast, though, Pat, but my dark horse here, I guess you could say that, or at least a favorite, look out for Springfield. They are the best team to come out of the Northeast, I think, a solid number 2 seed. And look out for Kyle McLaughlin. They're number 13 there. The finance and business management major from Bethel, Connecticut, takes care of business on the pitch as well. Pat, I think he can lead them in a pretty strong tournament here. But I also say, look out, John Carroll. I think that's a first-round upset here. They tied IUP to end their regular season. We know IUP is a very strong D2 side. So those are my picks there.
John Carroll, the Gators, coached by my old Rugby Magazine colleague, Justin Rutledge. A very good team season to this tournament. Look for them to do well. Now let's pivot over here to Women's Division III. Darian Lovelace, talk us through the field.
Oh boy, there's a lot to talk about, but there's a lot of talent within this D3 pool alone. We've got the number 1 seeds, both Endicott for the West, and then we've got Yale. And the Bully Dogs put on a performance last year, and it was quite the upset. They've got Lael Joseph returning, which is going to be instrumental for them. That was their handsome Dan. Now we've got the second matchup for the West, the 4 and the 5, which I think is probably going to be our biggest matchup. We've got Clarkson versus the Colorado Mines. The Colorado Mines struggled to find their footing last year, but this year they've dominated in their qualifiers. Drury University set at number 3, and also this will be their debut. They're going up against Gannon University, who is placed at 6, but was in that final against Yale University. And then finishing out is Niagara versus West Oregon. Both are returning to the CRCs, but Niagara had a much better run last year. But I've got to say that I think West Oregon is really going to band together within that Northwest. A lot of competition coming out of there. Over on the east side, though, we've got Siena versus East Stroudsburg. Both lost a bunch of their seniors, so the rookies are really going to need a lot of reliance there. But the talent that's come out of that has also been instrumental. York and Baldwin Wallace, I've got 2 players that I think are really going to stand out in Baldwin Wallace. That's going to be Haley Roach and Jessica Sambor. Both players know how to put up a score line. York's going to have a heavy ask coming in for that number 6 seed from Baldwin Wallace. And then our final one is going to be the University of Wisconsin Platteville versus Lontourneau. Lontourneau is also a debutante here as well. So a lot to prove here against the number 2 seed for the East.
Laterno, man, coming there out of Texas. They are one of the new teams here in the CRC, as well as Drury. Drury is one of my dark horses in this division here. They won their qualifier going away down in Rolla, Missouri earlier this spring. A relatively new school-funded and supported program. Both their men and women making a debut this season. My favorite is Endicott, right? The goals are fantastic. They won this thing in 2023, dethroned last year by Yale, as you mentioned, and Lael Joseph, who had an outstanding MVP performance. But Piper Lee, she is probably my player to watch in this whole thing. She is a relative unknown, new to rugby this season. The Mines made a Final Four run in 15s, and I think she, with space, her stiff arm is going to be more lethal. That step's going to be more lethal, and I cannot wait to see her pile on the tries for the Colorado School of Mines in this division here.
Yeah, that's the key to success, right? A stiff arm and then some space, and then it only takes one, right, within sevens to kind of change the game dramatically. So I've got to agree with you about Piper Lee, but Haley Roach, man, she's lethal whenever she's got space. So I'm excited to see her too.
Absolutely. Baldwin Wallace winning that Gannon sevens to automatically qualify. It's going to be a great tournament. Now let's turn our attention here to men's Division II. We got the IUP Crimson Hawks looking pretty heavy. Zach, talk us through all of the contenders in the field. Who can knock off IUP? 2-time champions. Not last year. That was Maine. They're out of it. We're going to have a new champion. Will it be IUP coming back or somebody else? Talk us through it, Mr. Lanning.
You got to pay. Yeah, that was going to be my opener here. It definitely won't be you, Maine, who will knock off IUP this year. They are not in the tournament here after their first season, and D2 resulted in their first national championship of their career, of their program history. So I think that does leave the door open for IUP to get their third title in 4 years here. They are my favorite, Pat, and it's because of they just are that good. They have the players there. Talking about Dom Holmes, I mean, whoever's not excited to watch what that guy does with a rugby ball in his hands probably doesn't have a pulse. But we all always talk about Dom, I think, a lot. So I want to get a little deeper here at TCRS, Pat. That's what we do. Holmes's teammate Malcolm Johnson, all right, actually broke Holmes's record for most tries in a single semester this spring with 41. So I'm looking to see if he can add any to his total here in Maryland. Malcolm Johnson, Dom Holmes make a deadly combination for IUP, who I have as the favorites here to take this home in Division II.
Yeah, that sounds like Malcolm is the Wilt Chamberlain to Mr. Holmes's Jerry West there, the cream or the cherry on top for IUP to return perhaps to the top of the podium. Zach Uhler, I'm looking at this guy. He's an All-American out of Towson. Towson just down the road in Baltimore, the hometown heroes. The Tigers look like a really, an up-and-coming contender here in this division. He's a fantastic player. He's going to lead them for sure. My favorite, of course, is IUP. We talked about it. There's no reason to belabor the point. They look fantastic. My dark horse here is Georgetown, right? These guys lost to Maine in a heartbreaking fashion in the final last year. They finished second to IUP at Bucknell, so we know that they can play them. They're familiar with that foe. And I like the Hoyas here in their backyard to return to the final. They are motivated. That's my dark horse, sir. Zach, tell me where I'm wrong.
No, I think you're absolutely right, Pat. I love both those hometown teams. You mentioned Georgetown getting hot at the right time here, coming off that D2 Mark Championship, in which they beat Villanova. They'll have to overcome a pretty good Colorado Mesa side in that number 3, number 6 matchup. Colorado Mesa, one of the earlier teams to qualify here in the AQ. But Towson made a surprise run in the 15s as well in the fall. Can they bring some of that surprise element here in the spring 7 season? I'm taking a big swing, though, on this one, Pat. This is my big swing for the tournament here. My dark horse, I have faith in number 8 RPI to pull this one out. That's my bold prediction here. They play strong defense. They gave up, I think, 4 tries total across the tournament and winning the Liberty Conference Championship this spring. Defense travels, so if they can stifle some teams, I think that'll get them out of any close matchups, even with a really strong number 1 Northwestern side facing them an opening weekend here.
Oh, man, Northwestern looked dominant in the Great Midwest Championships last weekend. That is a big call, Mr. Lanning. Big indeed. Let's see if you come good on it here in a couple weeks. All right, Darian, it's Women's Division II time. Talk us through the bracket. Who do you like? What do we got to look forward to?
Yeah, Zach, I'm going to agree with you. We got to go bigger. We got to go home, right? And the D2 in and of itself is going to bring it home. Let's talk about the number 1 seeds by both the East and the West. They both have a trifecta of players. Coast Guard has got Anna Green, Emma Briggs, and Caitlin Boggs. All are returning, and they know how to navigate through rough waters. We've got the University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire. They won it last year, and they also return with the trifecta of players of Chloe Chamberlain, Sarah Rid, and Emma Hamilton. All 3 players are going to know how to score. They know how to get the job done. Next up, though, for the matchups, we've got Colorado Mesa versus Georgia Tech. Now, Georgia Tech was able to slot in their ticket when they fell to Coastal Carolina in a second qualifier. Coastal Carolina, however, was able to win love at first ruck. So Georgia Tech, guilty by association, punches in their ticket, and they get to debut. Now, Towson versus Arkansas, one of the players that I have to give a shout out is going to be Haley Skosh. She can score and she can convert for her team. They're going to need it against heavy competition in Towson. Now, if we look at the East, we've got Marist versus Syracuse. Marist annihilated teams at the Tri-State Championship. Bowling Green and UT San Antonio. The Roadrunners will need a lot of speed to compete with Bowling Green. They sound very, very excited. We kind of got an interview from Roger Switzer, which is the Bowling Green coach, and they're just ready to play. My dark horse, though, lies in this last bracket. Roger Williams versus William and Mary. William and Mary, when they played, they did not allow any points scored against them. And I will die on this hill. Defense will always win championships. I've got to say that they're probably my fun one to come out of this and to come out on top against a very seasoned side in Roger Williams.
That's right. Roger Williams won this thing 2 years ago. That's a big call there as well. I love it, Darian. You guys are swinging for the fences. Yeah, when they went, they held everybody out of the try zone. They were not playing against Chloe Chamberlain and the Wisconsin Eau Claire Blue Golds, who have a lot of championship pedigree. The defending champions, they're my pick to come back and repeat here. Coached by Derek Wagner, a fantastic program. And my dark horse here, I really like Marist. All right, call me crazy, but All-American Sid Weiss is a fantastic player. And all you need in sevens, especially in knockout sevens, is one player to get hot, and they can run through a tournament like Steph Curry and Davidson in March Madness. And I think Sid Weiss and Marist has that capability.
That might be the matchup of the D2 whenever Marist plays against Syracuse. So we'll see who ends up on top for that match.
I love it very much. All right, let's turn our attention here to men's Division I club, where we have another team trying to repeat, the Louisville Cardinals. Zach Lanning, tell us all about it.
Yeah, Pat, I have to say as well, is there more of a professional pundit thing for me and Darian to say than defense wins championships? So I'm glad that we both are on the same page with that. And excited to see. Speaking of defense, Louisville utterly dominant last year in the CRCs, surrendering one try in the entire tournament in the opening round against Salisbury, going on to they hung 42 points on Salisbury also before they gave up that try. They scored 73 total across the rest of the games. They have a very good chance, Pat, of coming back here and repeating this year. They have a good opening round matchup against James Madison, but that west side of the bracket contains not only Louisville, but the second place team from last year in NC State, and also the third place team from last year in Tennessee. So that is a very dangerous side of the bracket here. I expect there to be some carnage at the end of that, but I expect Louisville to come out on top of that and take on South Carolina's side that I'd like to see a little bit more out of. I think they had failed to win the Southeastern Conference here for the first time in a few years. They came up just short. They played some really close games. So faltering a little bit at the finish line here, but they do have a dynamic freshman in Charlie Feehan, who I am looking for a lot from in this tournament. He's a try-scoring machine. Hopefully he can add some more to his belt here and help the Gamecocks make their way through this dangerous bracket.
Look, you got the Gamecocks saying they need to show you more. I think they're my favorite to win this thing. South Carolina, they didn't win the SEC, but they've been to this tournament. They're one of the probably top 5% of teams in terms of how many times they've been to the CRC. They know what it looks like, and they're almost always in the Premier Cup. This is their first time here in Division I club, so I think they got a really good shot. They finished second in the SEC. The only team that finished above them, Clemson, is in that Premier Cup bracket. So by all rights, they're the top seed in Division I club for one of the top conferences in the country, and I like the Gamecocks as my favorite to win this thing. Logan Lair, I'm telling you about this player from the University of Missouri. The Tigers will go as far as Logan Lair can take them. They have a couple other pretty good players like Andrew Bloomquist, but Logan Lair has a step. He has a pass. He has great vision. He's a coach's son. His father coaches Colorado Buffaloes. He's a fantastic player. Look out for him. A Denver Barbarian in the summertime can really sling it around. And another guy who can sling it around is the captain of my dark horse, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. This team has played a ton of sevens this spring. They're coached by Derek Pearson, who has coached he's been on 3 or 4 different coaching staffs at this tournament alone through the years. And so they've got a lot of sevens pedigree as well. And Lucas Fleming is an outstanding player. And this is his final go round. So I like him and the Cornhuskers to try to make a little bit of a Cinderella run here, Zach.
Yeah, for me, Pat, I think that would be Iowa. I'm looking to maybe make a kind of a dark horse run in this one. Recently pushing all their chips in the middle on sevens here, and they actually played a close game against my favorite to win. We'll get to this in a little bit, the Premier Cup division here in Iowa Central earlier this season. So look for the Hawkeyes maybe to make some noise coming out of the lower half of the bracket here.
That's them, and the Huskers went back and forth quite a bit this spring. So I like both of those picks, to be honest. All right, let's turn our attention here to Women's Division I club. Darian, talk us through this bracket.
Oh, this one's quite the doozy here. Up top, we've got Northeastern. They're going to be your number one on the West, and all over their Instagram, they keep on saying that the dogs are coming to eat. And Howard University, they're the first competitive HBCU women's rugby team in the country, but they have prepared very well. They've played in 6 sevens tournaments alone. So the number 8 seed might give Northeastern a run for the money, but I've got to tell you, once you let the dogs out, it's hard to come back from it. Purdue University, obviously going to be a fan favorite. It's proud of its rookies, though. They did have a pretty large senior class graduate, so they're going to have to rely heavily on those rookies that have come in to really up the pace. Oregon versus Notre Dame is going to be our second matchup on the west side. They've got Chase McCann returning. She did some serious damage for Oregon, but Maddie Wright for Notre Dame, man, she will lead the charge for this side. Colorado State and Northern Iowa, a lot of fun things. Colorado State also had a busy 7 season. They made it to 2 qualifiers and were able to punch in their ticket when they won the second one. Claremont College, though, with Central Florida, I've got to say, even though Central Florida is at the 7th seed, as a fellow Floridian, we know how to do things that get us on the news. And with Claremont College being a fan favorite going into that, they're going to have to add some flair to it. Moving on to the east side, though, we've got Arizona State versus UMass. UMass fell heavily to Northeastern whenever they played at home, so Arizona State might be able to capitalize off of that a little bit. Iowa versus Baylor. Aaliyah Springer from Iowa is going to return, and they're going to need the help because they've got Megan Thamer and Liz Windsor on Baylor. And when they band together and they connect well, it's magic. Lastly, we've got the number 2 Florida State and then Boston College. I've got to say, though, with Boston College, they've played aggressive rugby throughout their time. Florida State, though, I've got to give a shout out to the Noles as a fellow Floridian. I think that they might end up on top, but Boston College might be the ones to give them a run for their money here in the East bracket.
I love it. Darian holding it down for the Southeast, go Florida all the way. But it's going to be difficult here for some of those Florida teams. Florida State Seminoles, the Boston Colleges might be some of the toughest competition they've gone up against this entire spring. But some fantastic matchups. At Oregon, Notre Dame, first round. Oregon, the runner-up last year. Notre Dame, the runner-up in the Big Ten. This division, because the Premier Cup, as we're going to talk about it, is all varsity school-supported teams for the first time in CRC history. This women's Division I club is more competitive, more chock full, top to bottom of talent than it's ever been, and that's going to be evident on the field. My player to watch in this division is Morgan Link, a Northern Iowa All-American. She is a fantastic, steady performer for the team coming out of the Midwest, representing that conference. My favorite to win it all, I like Northeastern. What can I say? They're new to this competition relatively, and they look eager, they look hungry, and they have been dominant this spring. The dark horse, though, is Arizona State. Look out for the Sun Devils. They beat Claremont Colleges, our defending champion in Division I club, earlier in conference play. They are a team to watch out for sure. As a measly 4 seed, I could see them making it all the way, so watch out for them for sure.
Oh, yeah. My favorite thing, though, is for an upset and a half. That's what we're here for, right? So it would be interesting to see who ends up on top. I've got to say that first match, though, with Northwestern and Howard University might be my favorite one that we have going on, only because Howard University is playing so much rugby. So even if they can test the boundary a little bit with Northeastern, even though they are a fan favorite, and I do see them heading into the final, I've got to say I love it whenever the underdog kind of gives a little bit of bite. So I'm excited for that matchup as well.
That would be a huge bracket buster if the hometown favorites were able to knock off the number 1 seed and advance there. That would be fantastic. All right, guys, that is 96 of our 144 teams. We're going to take just a short little break and come right back and mow through the rest right here on Selection Saturday. Welcome back to Selection Saturday. It is what you've been waiting for, the Men's and Women's Premier Cup. We're going to start with the Men's Premier Cup here. 32 teams, regardless of what division you're in, the top 32 teams in the country, that's who's playing right here. You got to win 5 games in a row. 5 games in a row to win a national championship. And we're going to tell you all the teams trying to do just that. And we will start here in the East, where we've got the Iowa Central Community College Tritons as our number 1 seed going up against Nazareth out of the Liberty Conference. This is going to be a tough matchup for the Golden Flyers. ICC has looked fantastic all spring, led by Takuzwa Musanguini and Cone Webb. They're the only team to beat defending champion Wheeling all spring. That's going to be a fantastic game, but a tough matchup for Nazareth nonetheless. Moving down, taking on the winner of that one is Walsh and Adrian. This is a very compelling game. We got Ohio versus Michigan. We got 2 varsity teams clashing here from 2 different conferences and a 4-5 matchup. Any team could take it. Clemson, Purdue, Clemson, the Southeastern Collegiate Rugby Conference champions, going up against an up-and-comer from the Big Ten, the Boilermakers. They have been playing a fantastic rugby all spring, very competitive against a number of teams throughout this entire 32-team bracket. Let's see what they got here against the Clemson Tigers. The Tigers can beat anyone. Them, Indiana, Kutztown, found themselves in a three-way tie at the end of pool play in the Peach Cup earlier this spring. They can beat anybody in the country in a given day. St. Bonaventure comes in here as the number 2 seed. The Bonnies, led by Danny Neighbors, look really, really good. And they're going up against the Delaware Blue Hens, led by a former star of theirs, Steven Sanchez, who was playing the last time the Blue Hens were in the Premier Cup. They have done pretty well in the mark this spring, and they have a huge matchup there against St. Bonaventure. We saw 8-1 last year when Maryland took down, from the same conference, a MARC conference, took down the number 1 seeded Brown Bears. That could be Delaware over St. Bonaventure here. Let's see if they could make it happen here, Zach.
Yeah, absolutely, Pat. The Blue Hens, a very strong showing in the mark this year. They also have D1 AA All-American Justin McGraw, who's helping out there. That could very well be the upset here. If you want to take a look at that, I would not put that past it. And I am looking forward to the whole tournament here. The Premier Cup bracket, the 4 and 5 matchups are just heavyweights, Pat. So I'm excited for that Walsh and Adrian matchup there in this one. Although for me, I think ICCC is the top of the heap here. They are a pretty solid squad. They've had a really strong spring, and I'm looking for them to really take things home here.
Absolutely. You got a pretty juicy 4-5 matchup over there in the West as well, Mr. Lanning. Why don't you talk us through that entire region and the little Virginia Cup we got on the 4-5 line over there?
That's right, Pat. Out west, a huge battle between the 4 and the 5 seeds for the soul of the state of Virginia here, between the Virginia Tech Hokies and the Mary Washington, the 4-5 seeds here, respectively, in the West. Virginia Tech, a strong spring season, going 5-1 at Monumental Sevens, losing to Brown by just 1 score there. They also beat Indiana 26-0 along the way. Led by All-American Lucas Bishie, who's a carrying machine with the ball in hand. Pat, he's a strong runner, hoping to run the Hokies to a kind of dark horse championship run here. You got another great matchup here. Number 3, Notre Dame. Number 6, Harvard Crimson here. Battle of the brains here. So 2 top-flight universities facing off. Notre Dame, the Big Ten champs this year, led by Colin Ardesy, the first-team all-conference player for Notre Dame, who's playing great rugby out there. That should be a heck of a battle. Nothing bigger, though, than Pat, the number 2 Brown Bears taking on the Texas A&M Aggies. Welcome to the NCR, Texas A&M. You'll have to play Brown here in the first round of the CRCs, but I think they will acquit themselves well. They should have had a strong season as well. And Brown, always a contender, though, so we'll see how that one goes. But the first overall matchup here, number 1, Wheeling Cardinals, the number 1 seed here, taking on number 8, Babson Beavers, Division III school, normally in the 15 season, so I know I'm familiar with them. They play Premier Cup in the 7s season here. This is a rematch, Pat, of the semifinal matchup from last year that Babson lost to Wheeling. Wheeling went on to win the championship last year as well. So rematch here. Babson looking for some revenge. It would be pretty sweet as an 8 seed, Pat, I think, for Babson to take down Wheeling there in round 1.
That's right. Last year, Babson came in as a 1 seed, and then they've had some crucial transfers and graduations, but they came back for the Premier Cup. Another bite as a Division III team coming up and playing teams 1, 2, 3 divisions above them. Got to love the fight from that Carrick Pell coach Babson team. Talk about familiarity and coaches. We got Tui Osborne in his first semester down there at Texas A&M in College Station, leading the Aggies, formerly of St. Bonaventure, where he led the Bonnies to a national championship, and is very well versed against the Brown Bears. So Tui knows how to prepare and beat against Brown. That'll be a fun matchup going up against a longtime foe in Dave LaFlamme, who coaches the Bears. And then we got a great coaching matchup there at the 3-6 as well, with Notre Dame's Justin Hickey and Harvard's Colton Carriaga. Both of these guys have spent their time coaching age grade national teams and have put some trophies in the cabinet. So that's going to be a very exciting one to watch. And really the best matchup, though, in this entire region, could be the second round, where Wheeling, if chalk holds there and they are able to get past the Beavers, they could face their old teammate, Aaron Juma, who was just there in the fall winning a national championship in 15s, who is now at Mary Washington, if they're able to get past Virginia Tech. So that could be a great matchup, a juicy one there in the second round. That was a little bit of a controversial transfer. Hop in the portal. The portal's part of college sports these days, and that would be an interesting matchup there in the second round if it were to happen, Zach.
Absolutely. I think Wheeling still has plenty of firepower. You got Shadrach Madraza as well there looking to carry them along, but that should be something. There's always a little bit extra when you go against a former teammate. I'd imagine. I don't know if I ever played any former teammates myself. Maybe Darian can weigh in on this a little more than I can, but I know generally there's always a little bit more when you're coming up against a former teammate like that.
Without question. Now let us move on down here to the Midwest region and dive on through that one where we have some juicy matchups, including Kutztown Iona on the 1-8 line. The Golden Bears, 2022 CRC champions. They are back and hungry to get back on the top of the podium. Going up against the Gales, who have struggled a little bit this spring, but they're a very CRC experienced squad, and you never know. You never know with Iona. Kutztown, the obvious favorite. And then moving on down in the 4-5 line, you have Siena against Aquinas here. And the Battle of the St. Bernards, a wild matchup here with Siena and Aquinas. 4-5 could go either way. Aquinas hasn't played that much rugby this spring. Siena has played a ton, but they didn't perform super well last week. Maybe resting a few injuries just to peak right at the right time going into Maryland. Moving down to 3-6, you got AIC going up against Rio Grande. This is a Big Rivers Liberty Conference duel. AIC is one of my teams to watch in the entire tournament, led by Philemon Manu, the fullback All-American, and Kahunu Koi, the lightning wing. He's got a fantastic step and is going to be one of the more electric players to watch in this entire tournament. AIC, the Yellow Jackets, definitely a team to look out for. And then the final matchup in the Midwest, we've got Queens, number 2 against Fordham, the 7 blocks of granite as the 7 seed. Fordham, a fantastic side, very CRC veteran squad, but Queens looks really good. Everett Boyd, as lightning as he was in 15s, I cannot wait to watch him with a little bit more space here in 7s. That's the Midwest, Zach. Tell me what you think.
I really like Queens in this division, Pat. You'll see a little bit more later as well how much I like them, but I think they've been pretty quietly winning a lot of rugby this spring, a lot of 7s matches and tournaments that has gone their way. You mentioned Everett Boyd, Hilton Olivier as well on that squad. Some really, really strong 7s players there. I look for them to make some noise, and I have to say it, Pat, you mentioned it, the St. Bernard, Siena Saints, Aquinas Saints. I'm curious which dog will have its day, Pat, at the end of this one. So I apologize to everyone watching, but I did have to say that before we moved on.
That was lovely, and we will find out indeed, nonetheless. St. Bernard's in April in Maryland could get a little hot. Speaking of hot, let's throw it on over now to the South region.
Not as many exciting mascot matchups, Matt, but that's okay because we have plenty of really good rugby matchups here in the South. This is a very strong conference, including potentially the most competitive match in the field here in Premier Cup Division between the 4 and 5, the Indiana Hoosiers and the Fairfield Red Ruggers. They should be playing a very tight contest here, Pat. Look for first-year Luke Peters to shine for the Hoosiers in that one. But that should be a very intense 4-5 matchup. You got plenty of other exciting matchups here. Number 3, the Marion Knights taking on number 6, Michigan Wolverines. There is a fun mascot here with Marion, Nitro, the Knight. I'm excited to see if we get more mascot action there. But also, Marion, a very strong spring 7 season here. So I think they should make quick work here of the Wolverines. You have Belmont Abbey Crusaders at number 2, taking on the Drury Panthers at number 7. I think Belmont Abbey, so they did win the Rock AQ is how they punched their ticket here. That was in South Carolina. They also took 3rd in the Peach Cup, which did feature that very talented Wheeling side that we mentioned. So they've had a strong spring as well. And then the number 1 and number 8, you have Dartmouth Big Green, very, very strong Ivy League school coming out here in the South, taking on some hometown heroes here, Loyola Maryland, the Greyhounds, who will be stepping up, generally a Division III team as well. Will be looking to make a probably, I wouldn't say the shock of the century here, but a very, very shocking upset if they were to dethrone Dartmouth in that 1A matchup, Pat. But who knows? Anything can happen at the CRCs.
Their coach, Will Nipscher, was a salty dog on the sevens pitch for Schuylkill River for many, many years, and he never backed down to a challenge on the pitch, and the Greyhounds will not back down to a challenge against the Dartmouth Big Green, who have taken a little bit of a different approach. There's some teams play as many sevens tournaments as you can, get as much experience and as much playing time as possible. Dartmouth changed it up this spring a little bit. They went and took a training camp down in Chula Vista. They've played 2 tournaments so far, made it to the final in one, won the final in the other, and they're only going to play 3 tournaments under their belt before they get to the CRC, but they'll be back to back to back. So they're taking a little bit of a different cook time here, but they look really good, the Big Green, earning that number 1 seed. And I think the Belmont Abbey, that team could have a bit of an argument. Harrison Tuisala is a lightning freshman talent. For them, they look really fantastic. They could feel a little bit slighted. They're going to go against Drury. We talked about their women's program, their men's program, led by Drake Poth, the talent out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. They're really maturing pretty nicely there under Brian Bevel, and wouldn't be the shock of the century if they upset Belmont Abbey in that first round. They do have an uphill battle. Indiana, Tommy Hannon. You know what I love about Indiana? All the kids are from the state of Indiana. They're really proud of it, and half of them are brothers of guys that were like on an Indiana CRC Final Four team before. So that's a really fun lineage for them, and I know they got a lot to fight for there in the South. Zach, let's just pull out now. Let's talk about the whole bracket a little bit. Let's go through who is your Cinderella, right? Who is the team that is maybe not seated on that top 1 or 2 line that you could see going further than their seed suggests here?
I think for me, Pat, it has nothing to do with mascots at all, but I am going to go here with the Siena Saints. They're going to be my Cinderella pick for this one. Not as far down the seeding chart here, but there was a lot of talent in those 1, 2, and 3 seeds, so I think it would be pretty shocking for Siena to come through. But they've had a very strong performance at Monumental Sevens and Old Blue Sevens, Pat. They went 4-1 at both of those tournaments with a lot of the same teams you're reading about in these brackets, and they lost to Dartmouth by just 1 point in that one. They also lost to St. Bonaventure by only 2 or by 1 score in those tournaments as well, Pat. So they've had a very strong spring. I think Siena is going to be one to watch in this one.
Yeah, I like Siena a lot. I mentioned AIC as a Cinderella. Not sure if a 3 quite counts as a Cinderella, so I'm stretching all the way down to the 4 line. I like the Indiana Hoosiers. They're a team that I think if they get hot, they have the talent. They're young, but if they get hot and they gel at the right time, all it takes is 1 win to get to that second one, and you're going downhill, and it's a snowball effect. So if that young team gels at the right time and gets hot, I think the Indiana Hoosiers could go a long ways. All right, let's talk about it, Zach. I've picked my Final Four. I know who I think is going to be there. I'm going to lay it out for you. I've got the Iowa Central Tritons, led by Cone Webb and Takuza Musanguini, the dynamic duo of the tournament. These 2 guys are fantastic. Dartmouth, AIC, and Wheeling. That's my Final Four. Tell me where I'm wrong, Mr. Lanning.
We differ in a couple of spots here, Pat. I myself as well have the Iowa Central Tritons. I think they are the team to beat. I also have Dartmouth, even though I said maybe Loyola Maryland to pull that one out. I think Dartmouth does make it through here. And I have Wheeling as well. As my third of 4 teams here. But I have Queens coming out over Kutztown there in that bracket. I think Queens, a solid number 2 seed here, should be able to defeat AIC eventually in that matchup. They have some fireworks in that match. Hopefully we'll see a good game between those 2 if they can make that happen bracket-wise. But that's my 4, Pat. Wheeling, Iowa Central, Queens, and Dartmouth.
Well, that's it, guys. That is it. We've handicapped, unveiled, and talked about the 32 teams coming to the Men's Premier Cup here at the Maryland Soccerplex in just a couple of weeks for the 15th Collegiate Rugby Championship. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to go through the 16 Women's Premier Cup teams, all varsity teams, all school-funded for the first time ever when we come back. You may not know it yet, but this is the most exciting bracket structure in all of sports. See, across the board, college sports tend to follow the same format. Select a set of teams for a tournament, rank the teams and place them in a bracket, win and continue, lose and you're done. But what if you wanted to cram a 144-team tournament into a single weekend? Better yet, what will you do if each game lasts only 14 minutes and teams typically play multiple games in a single day? Enter the cascading bracket, the most entertaining bracket in all of sports, and the tournament structure of the Collegiate Rugby Championship. Here's how it works. First, you get rid of all the pool play rounds and replace them with a much bigger bracket. That means if you want to win the CRC, you'll have to go undefeated. But don't worry, there are opportunities to keep playing even if you get bounced in the first round. Let me give you an example of how it works for two different teams. Team 1 wins their first game over Team 2 and continues to play in the Cup bracket. Team 2 loses their first game to Team 1 and gets dropped down to the Bowl bracket. Team 1 now has the opportunity to continue in the Cup bracket and pave their way to a national championship. If they win in the first round, then lose in the second round, they drop to the Plate bracket. Let's get back to Team 2. They lost round 1, so they are currently sitting in the Bowl bracket. If they lose round 2, they'll drop further to the Shield bracket. Playing with a cascading bracket allows for the Collegiate Rugby Championship to host 144 teams and hundreds of matches in a single weekend. Welcome back. It is time to talk the Women's Premier Cup, the top 16 teams in the country. For the first time ever, all varsity, all school-funded programs. Let's dive right in here with the East region, where AIC, American International College, comes in as the top seed, and they're matched up against Norwich in the first round. This is a great matchup here. AIC and Norwich, both from the Northeast. Two fantastic storied programs, both who have put championships in the cabinet in the past. AIC third place last year in this tournament. They beat Brown earlier this spring, the two-time defending champions, so they know they can do it. They were nipped by Army by just a single score in that semifinal last year, and led by T. Fletcher, they look like they are primed to have their best, most threatening year ever at the CRC. Right there in the second round, waiting for them potentially, are the Bowdoin Polar Bears and Wheeling Cardinals. Wheeling Cardinals, in their first ever year as a program, in the fall, their first semester, won a 15s national championship, turn around the spring, trying to go 2 for 2 and win their first ever national championship in sevens in their first ever seven season. They've got Tamsin Boyce, who is an Irish speedster out on the edge, Alexis Dallas, the bruiser in the middle, and Bella Gulata, the All-American fly half, who can connect the two. They're going to be dangerous as a 5 seed. Moving on down, we've got New Haven, the Chargers. They look fantastic as well as a 3 seed, going up against Meredith Pike's St. Bonaventure Bonnies. This is a great matchup. Not a lot of familiarity between these two teams. They have not played a whole lot, so it's going to be an interesting time for them to get out there and feel each other out in the first round. And then at the bottom here, we've got Army as the number 2 seed. Back-to-back runners-up in this competition. The Black Knights trying to slip on that white gown and finally get up to the podium, get up across the line and say some vows themselves and be the bride and get across the line as champions for the first time in this tournament. They've got some storied alums like Sam Sullivan. You ever heard of her? Just won a bronze medal in the Olympic team. She was the MVP of this tournament for the Black Knights. They have not won a championship yet, though. That is something new they can do, and it starts with Mount St. Mary's, led by Maggie Miles, a young head coach. Her father coaches the men's program, looking to improve here with the first-round win, but it's going to be tough against the Black Knights. Darian, what's your impression here in the East? Any of those matchups scream out to you as upset potentials?
There are a lot of them. I've got to say, American International College, they're my favorite currently. Last year, whenever I commentated for them, I said that they had arguably the best defense in the competition. And I'll stand on that because throughout their qualifiers, they have just dominated and they've been able to rack up goose eggs against multiple teams. Another one that I really like, we need to talk about Polar Bear Sevens, New Haven. They beat Bowdoin and they beat Brown 19-5. Now that's not an easy feat. I enjoy the Knights. I love watching Army play. They always put on a show. But if we can see New Haven and Army in that quarterfinal, I think that might be the matchup of the competition. AIC, though, I'm going to say, and I'm going to go out on a limb, I think that they could win it all. And I'm not saying that because I love Brown University, but AIC, we've talked about it time and time again, defense is going to win championships. If they can capitalize off of those turnovers that they were able to generate in a more efficient, connected way, I think that they could easily slot their way in. It would be really sad for Army, though, because Army time and time again have found themselves in that second place. They would deserve it. I think that the Yellow Jackets, though, are going to cause a mess of things again.
That could be an absolutely fantastic semifinal. You know, Army Yesenia Morales is one of the M.A. Sorensen Award finalists. That's the Heisman Trophy of women's college rugby. So she's a fantastic player. She's not going to be easy for anybody to deal with. And AIC, talk about not easy to deal with. Naomi Dodd, the Lightning. Not only can they play defense, they can score. And a lot of time it is Naomi Dodd, the Jamaican national teamer, who is doing the scoring for them. And AIC as well. There's a lot of teams that have both a men's and a women's team here at the CRC. You, of course, at Life, you guys did that a lot, and I know that adds a lot to the event. You can be cheering for each other and have a lot of extra support, but not a lot of teams are sharing a coach. T. Fletcher is the head coach of the men's team and the women's teams, and they are both contenders here. So that is an interesting dynamic for AIC for sure. All right, Darian, those are the beasts of the East. Now we're going to slide out and see who's the best in the West. Darian Lovelace, what you got?
Pat, a poet, and you don't even know it. And we've got some tea that we've got to talk about here. Brown University is going to be the first matchup that we talk about, and for good reason. They're going for their third title, and Coach Ross Chow is going for her fifth. That's going to put her as the most sevens titles for the women's in National Collegiate Rugby. What an accomplishment for her. The Brown Bears are going to be vying for everything. They're aggressive, they're smart, and they're tenacious. They've got exceptional athletes on their side. Nikki Lynch is expected to make a return along with Kate Muldoon. Both will cause a mess of things, and both will make sure that their teams are going to be in that final matchup. Next, we've got Westchester and Navy. Now, the Golden Rams and the Goats are no strangers to each other. Navy finished third last year after a tough semifinal with Brown University. They were able to chip away the 12-10. They beat AIC last year for that third place finish. But let's talk about March 30th. Now, at a sevens tournament where Westchester and Navy played against each other, Westchester beat Navy, but then in the final, Navy was able to come back and beat Westchester. This match, those 14 minutes are going to feel like an eternity for these sides because they've got everything to play for. On Westchester, though, I've got to shout out Brooke Crago. On a flight back from the PR7s, sat next to her, and she talked about how excited she was to play sevens. She's also become a monumental player for this Westchester side. And then Navy, we got to talk about Mia Young. Both players are going to be vying for that spot to play against Brown University. Last bit that we're going to talk about is going to be Penn State and Frostburg. Frostburg has got an athlete, Elise Lease. She had 55 points alone at the Bobcat Stadium. Penn State, they're no stranger to the CRCs. The Nittany Lions always come to play. And I've got to say, anytime that you see a cat fight, it's always going to be aggressive. Between Frostburg and Penn State, it's hard to tell who's going to come out on top. If I had to put money on it, I'm going to go with Frostburg as my Cinderella story to punch in their ticket to the quarterfinals. And then this last matchup, near and dear to my heart, is Queens and Southern Nazarene. I've been able to coach both sides of the coin within Queens and Southern Nazarene in U23 competitions, and they've got these talented players that know how to get the job done. Within Queens alone, based out of Charlotte, North Carolina, they've got players like Michaela Hall, who is so strong, so aggressive. And then Southern Nazarene, they've got a dynamic duo. They've got Lauren Anderson and Talisi Uatafe, one of the Sorensen nominees as well. This matchup, I see Southern Nazarene punching their ticket into a semifinal only because of how exceptional they've continued to play throughout the season and the expertise that they have within Anderson and Uatafe alone.
Yeah, what an exciting matchup. I don't think Queens and Southern Nazarene have probably ever met on the rugby pitch before, would be my guess. And Talesi Uatafe is fantastic. A little thunder and lightning with Talesi and Lauren Anderson. Lauren, the thunder, and Talesi, of course, the lightning, stepping everybody and running around everybody all the time. Fantastic player. That's my Cinderella in this division here. Is this Southern Nazarene Crimson Storm. They were runners up in 15s, and you know the way they lost handily in that 15s final, but they stood tall and they played till the final whistle. Talesi Uatafe, very brave in that final. You know they want more. They want to be back on the final stage. I think this could be the year that you see the Crimson Storm go on a little bit of a run. All right. Tell me where I'm wrong. Let's talk a little bit of Final Four action here, Darian Lovelace. I'll give you mine. I've got American International College, led there by Naomi Dodd. Army, Brown, and Southern Nazarene. That's right. The Crimson Storm, the 7th seed I've got coming out of the West and playing Brown in the semifinal. And I've got AIC and Army in the other semi. Tell me where I'm wrong, Darian.
I've got to agree with you on most, except I'm thinking that New Haven, again, is really going to do a number on Army. And the only reason why I say that is because it's not an easy feat to beat a team that has already won 2 national champions. Like I said, they beat them 19-5 at their last qualifier at the Polar Bear Sevens. If they can ride off of that confidence, then the Knights are really going to have to find that aggression, find that connectivity, because with New Haven showing that they can score and keep a national champion out of the tri-zone continuously, I think that might be the quarterfinal that we're looking for with the drama. And Southern Nazarene, I want them to punch their ticket. I know that they're capable of it, but I think if there's a team that's going to knock them out, it's going to be Queens. That matchup alone, I think, might set the tone for what we see in the quarter and the semifinals. But Brown University and AIC, I'm going to keep my vote that I think that AIC might be the one to play against Brown in the final.
Look, we've got a lot to watch out for, a lot to look out for. We've talked these teams, we've talked these matchups. Let's bring Zach Lanning in here as we wrap this thing up just a couple of weeks ago, 1 week to go, and we are going to be in Maryland at the Soccerplex for the 3rd year in a row, the 15th Collegiate Rugby Championship. It is a very exciting time. Mr. Lanning, what are you looking forward to most here going into the Collegiate Rugby Championship?
Well, Pat, I've got 3 things, if you'll indulge me here very quickly. Number 1, the Monster sponsorship tent that I am incredibly excited to frequent over the duration of the weekend. It should be very exciting. Number 2, I am excited for... the rugby here. I only have 2 things, Pat. I'm excited for the quantity and the quality of rugby across several fields here. You can look wherever you want. You can go to the outer fields and you'll see, players, coaches milling about, fans, spectators watching really quality rugby. You go in the stadium, you're walking around in the concession stands. Oh, there's Alex Magleby getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, or there's Kevon Williams. All these rugby superstars, all these coaches, players, parents, fans, all in one place. It should be super exciting, Pat.
That's right. We got some celebrity, some star power this year. We're going to have both of the recent Olympic captains. Nia Tapper will be there on hand all weekend. Kayvon Williams, the men's Olympic captain. Perry Baker, the 2-time World Rugby Player of the Year. A lot of star power at the CRC this year. What about you, Darian Lovelace? What has you most pumped to get to Maryland?
The thing that I'm most pumped about now that Zach mentioned it is to see him on a lot of Monster. So let's get excited about that as well. I'll meet you over at the tent. But the last bit that I'm most excited about is going to be the fact that our Premier Division has the backing from their schools. As you said, they're school funded. And one thing that we've been vying for in the women's space is for the support, right? It's for the people that are going to buy into what these athletes are being asked to do. As we see more schools buy into this idea, I think it's only going to increase the competition for women's rugby. And riding off of the bronze medal finish that we just had, I think it's only going to show that the investment in women's sports, namely women's rugby, is here to stay. I'm excited to see what these athletes, both men and women, are capable of showcasing here in Maryland. And for it to be the biggest rugby competition in college, I mean, who wouldn't want to go out there and have a good time and see all of the fun things that we have planned? I mean, it's just an honor to be able to have the opportunity to be surrounded by everybody who's borderline obsessed with rugby. So I'm most excited to meet all of the friends who are just as vested in the growth of the sport as we are, and to see it really take off and get the recognition that it deserves.
Yeah, you've heard us say it. The first time we've had all varsity school-funded teams in the Women's Premier Cup. 10 out of 16 head coaches are all women as well. So it's going to be a really great, probably our best Women's Premier Cup division of all time. So that is very exciting. You tell you what I'm excited for. The College Rugby Show is going live at the Collegiate Rugby Championship. You're going to be able to tune in 4 times throughout the weekend, every single day. Friday night, we're going live. Saturday morning, we're going live. Saturday night, we're going going live. And then Sunday again, we're going live. So you're going to be able to follow the action, not just watch the rugby, but hear us nuts talk about it off the field all weekend on set right there with all the craziness in the background. We're going to bring some of these stars on the stage. You're going to see them, and we are going to bring college rugby's largest party right to you here on the College Rugby Show Live. I'm pumped for that. Also pumped for the bracket challenge. Make sure you head on over to collegiaterugbychampionship.com. Get the information for the bracket challenge. Get in there, fill out your bracket so you can compete against us three knuckleheads and maybe a celebrity bracket or two. It's going to be a lot of fun. Get your bracket filled out now. Get your bags packed. Maryland's just 1 week away. That's it from us. That's Selection Saturday. We will see you very soon live from the Maryland Soccerplex for the 15th Collegiate Rugby Championship. For Darian Lovelace and Zach Lanning, I'm Pat Clifton. This has been Selection Saturday.